Hey everyone, how you doing? Thanks for hitting the link and coming to my video. We're going to talk about a few different things, but first, I have a question. And that question is, what do you think of when you hear the term war crime? Most likely, it's something like this, or this, or even this. And yes, while you'd be technically correct with all of those, there's also a reality that most people don't recognize. That reality is that war crimes are committed by Americans too. Whenever people think of this concept, they always seem to act like these monstrous acts are only committed by those in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. But there are numerous instances of Americans committing these crimes as well. Nice. So you might be asking yourself, what is a war crime? A war crime is an action carried out during the conduct of war that violates accepted international rules of war. This term, coined in 1945 at the Nuremberg trials, was used to define the conduct of 24 top Nazi leaders that were put on trial after World War II. This conference also brought about the term genocide, which is obviously the most definite example of a war crime. The other purpose of this trial was to warn future leaders of the world that this type of conduct was unacceptable and that they could be held accountable for their country's actions during wartime. Simply put, a war crime is a crime against humanity and peace. So today, basically, world leaders can now be held responsible for the crimes that are committed by their country in times of war. Also, individuals participating. When talking about war crimes, there's two distinctly different concepts that are thought of. The first, jus ad bellum, has to do with the set of principles that need to be met before engaging in war. If these are not met, the war is seen as an unjust war. The second, jus in bello, talks about the laws that govern how war is conducted. For sake of simplicity, I'll be focusing on the second. In war can also be held responsible. Let's take a look at a few different actions that happen during wartime and see how we can define them. First things first, let's talk about the enslavement and unjust imprisonment of people around the world. I don't know if any of you guys actually pay attention to world news, but there's a huge situation going on in China right now. Basically, what is happening is the Chinese government is rounding up people of Muslim origin and putting them into quote unquote re education centers. As you have guessed, yes, this is a war crime. Imprisoning people for being part of an ethnic minority is almost the exact definition of what a war crime would be for their actions. Next, let's take a look at torture. Torture is the action or practice of inflicting severe pain on someone as a punishment or to force them to do or say something. This points back to my earlier example that Americans are also guilty of committing war crimes. Zero Dark 30, which was a movie that chronicled the eventual killing of Osama bin Laden, showed a plethora of different torture methods, including waterboarding, that are used in war. Even though it brought a means to killing one of the world's most dangerous terrorists, the actions that led to getting that information are, by definition, war crimes. An argument can be had about whether or not these are justified, but it doesn't take it away from the fact that these actions can be heinous in nature. The next one that I really hate talking about, is systematic rape. In times of war, rape can be used as a means of showing physical and mental dominance over a group of people. Now, obviously, yes, this is a war crime. The reason this page doesn't have any pictures on it is because, one, the images of systematic rape are too gruesome to show, and two, I personally don't believe in idolizing or even giving a platform to the people who commit these actions. A question that I found in my research was, what about the wartime journalists, and why aren't they held responsible for committing war crimes? In wars, journalists play a very integral part of spreading the information to the masses. If certain journalists are spreading different types of propaganda that either encourage war crimes being committed or justify them, it's a pretty decent claim to say that they can be held responsible as well. The last question I have for you today is enough being done to limit the crimes or punish the people who commit these crimes? And the answer is a resounding nah. More times than not, these instances of war crimes spark public outrage over the internet for a few weeks, but that outrage goes away as soon as the next atrocity comes up. Like, who remembers this guy? My point exactly. Also, seeing people like Eddie Gallagher get a presidential pardon for the crimes he committed at war are a true testament to how easy it is to get away with these acts. So that's all I have to really say on this for right now. I want to thank all you guys for tuning in, and I look forward to engaging with you guys on discussions later. Thank you.